day two. Disrupt healthcare and start a chiropractic lifestyle revolution. Well, hey, last night, if you haven't gone back to day one, you definitely need to go back to day one. It kind of sets foundation for today, but we're going to give you a quick review. And here's the review. Hey, man, what's buttons are stuck? The world is changing fast, man. So, are you going to become a healthcare leader that creates a chiropractic healthcare movement? What's a movement? It's a group of people that have purpose, they have the same beliefs. They want to make social change. And that is really the core foundation of disruption, disrupting industries. They want to make social change because they see it's a big problem, and healthcare is a problem. So the good thing is we got our young friend over here that is already creating a disruption. So it's not like we have to be the origin of the disruption. Hey, if we're in the wake of what he's doing now, and I mean, you go on social media, there's, multiple reels in a row of stuff being exposed. So it is disrupting. You just got to become a leader. And that's really it. All you got to do is lead. He's already at the tip of the spear. So, what defines an industry disruptor? Well, it's an individual entrepreneur who introduces innovative products or services. Now, let's stop right there. You introduce product or services. The problem is the innovator loves their new innovative product or service. That's the problem. Because what you find out is all these people that disrupt industries, they're not touting their product or service. They're looking at beliefs, they're looking at identity, they're looking at values, they're looking at all these, they're looking at vision and dreams. They're not selling their product or service. They're shifting the person's mindset. So those products or services and the way they communicate it change the way an existing market operates. Often by creating a new technology that, the highest technology in my opinion is CBP business model that challenge established players. And this is why actually I started coaching. Was I had a bunch of chiropractors coming to me and they wanted me to teach them. And then I realized, man, I got to make a bigger impact. And that's, again, the story. I had 232 people on my schedule that day with a bunch of new patients and re-exams. And I'm like, 1,000 a week won't be enough. And I literally prayed, put my hand on my schedule and said, God, there's got to be something bigger and you have to show me. A year and a half later is when I was coaching because I knew I had a model the profession needed. Their innovations significantly impact the market share of existing companies, forcing them to adapt or potentially fall behind. Now, when you communicate according and you change beliefs and you're doing spinal correction, you've already taken a patient, exposed to them to something different, and they leave their pain-based chiropractor. They leave the medical doctor, they leave the physical therapist, right? So, is it going to force them to adapt? Well, the medical profession doesn't have a shortage of patients, but the more we can pull out of that, the more impact we make. And that's the goal. We talked about last night that three things to disrupt an industry. One, you need a North Star. Two, you got to have an enemy. And when I saw that, and I'll talk about this guy tonight, Keith Krach again. When you have an enemy, then it's like playing sports. If you didn't have an opponent, you wouldn't bring out your best. You wouldn't practice and try to develop your skill. You wouldn't get so frustrated when you get beaten, which is like owning your own business. Why do you stay in there? You have a purpose, you have a North Star, and you have an enemy, an opponent that you want to conquer. My opponent when I started was really pediatricians, vaccination, and certainly medicine. But I think I was more passionate. Well, I was passionate about all of it, but certainly vaccination and pediatricians. And so I was able to develop big practices without really knowing very much, straight on energy. And that has a limitation. So then I had to actually learn some structure. So for 20 years, I studied individuals that disrupted industries. And this is a review last night. Tony Robbins, disrupted psychology. Steve Jobs, personal communication. Elon Musk, certainly the whole petroleum business. Obviously, Jeff Bezos, right? Online books. Reed Hastings, I just forgot his name, of Netflix. Um, Travis Kalanick, who developed Uber, and then this guy, which we're gonna talk about him in a minute. I was listening to a podcast on billionaire mindset. So all last week, each week I pick a theme, and last week was billionaire mindset. So heard an interview with him, and we're going to talk about him in a minute and how that applies. So here's Keith right here. He was an engineer. I talked about this last night. He was an engineer and mechanical engineer. His dad owned a welding shop, so he learned how to weld. You know, a lot of billionaires, and this is in the billionaire mindset interviews, it says they're not any smarter. They just never give up. And they have an idea and they have a purpose and they have a North Star and they have an enemy and they just want to win. You know, they want to make a difference. So anyway, became an engineer, developed a software, completely changed the whole mechanical engineering industry specialty. I think it was three multi-billion-dollar industries. And then he founded Ariba, which is a B2B, business to business e-commerce. 3.7 trillion a year. He has a 5-step business model that we talked about last night that is right in line, almost exact, to the elite business model. And here's what's important about him. One of the things he said, what was the mission of all his companies? That was a question that he asked, and it was leadership. That's it. What did they do? They created leaders in their team. They created leaders in their customers. That's called a movement. That's how you grow exponentially. And they became great leaders. It is more important to be, well, if you want to grow, look at this, man. I'm getting a call here. Hey, we don't have the link. You know, it's more important to be a great leader. A great leader will build a bigger practice than someone who doesn't. Why? Because someone who's not as good of a leader is going to be customer service. And then what happens? These insane run the asylum. And then that's it. Been there, done there. Before I create great leadership, what does customer service do? Because we're not in the customer service business. Tanks the tone of your team. His fourth thing, first was you got to have a purpose. Second, you got to know your core values. 3, you're continually raising your standards. 4, team first. And that was it. You got to create leaders on your team. You have to be a great leader that protects your team. And that's why we say that you want to grow your practice. The doctor's primary job is to protect the front desk, create great patients. So now we get into what we're going to go over tonight. People don't buy gadgets, they buy beliefs. This is our strategy. And this is what we're going to talk about tonight. So changing beliefs for guaranteed generational lifestyle care. So what do? We change beliefs. We transform mindsets, we shape futures, and we disrupt an industry. Now, obviously, you look at Tesla changing beliefs. My God, why initially would they buy a Tesla? All this global warming and we're green and it's significant and I'm cooler than everybody else. And, you know, I want to park in the front of the restaurant, you know, whatever those reasons are. But definitely he disrupted an industry. How do you know he disrupted it? Because now all companies are making electric cars. So it's like, shit, we got to catch up or we're going to fall behind. That's what we want to do in chiropractic. That's why I wrote the Back to Health book. Now, Back to Health is for doctors, but I rebranded it, as you guys probably know, for the general public, since 8 out of 10 Americans have back pain, the best kept secret to heal your back pain. Every night, even though I haven't done a great job of marketing yet, I read 100 million copies are sold. 100 million people have that book, big things are going to happen. So I think it's possible for ordinary people to choose. What's that word? I want to see that one in the chat. Choose. Choose to be extraordinary. That is you as a leader. That is you as a team. Why are billionaires extraordinary? They're just persistent. They just don't give up. And that is what's extraordinary. Extraordinary. You have a purpose, you have a vision, you're a chiropractor in this time in the world when there is massive disruption and people are going to be looking for the truth. Absolutely. I mean, there's people out there that don't even know what the three letters GMO is. And isn't fluoride good for my bones? So there's going to be a lot of questions, man. So I know you guys recognize these slides. All behavior is belief driven. Here's what I would like to invite you to tonight. I'd like to invite you to look at this from a different perspective because you've seen it in the boot camps. If there's people on here, guests that are going to come on here that haven't been to the boot camps or watching this recording, then we got a chat. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Nice. Choose. There you go. iPhone 4. Yeah, thanks so much. All behavior is belief driven. Now let's go to Tony Robbins. Study Tony Robbins. Study Jim Quick. If you want to change a behavior, you have to change. What's that word? I want to see belief in there. You want to change behavior, you got to change the belief. You got to change the emotion that's driving the behavior. Now, I know that you know this. You're like, yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it. And definitely there is a part that you get. But if you're not doing it consistently, because I look how objections are handled. So one, this is a skill you have to learn. But two, more importantly, it takes way longer to learn the skill when you don't make your top priority to change your mind. Now, I remember when I went to professional life coaching, I just started coaching chiropractors. And so what I noticed was I went to my first life coaching weekend, 2.5 days, and I said, I'm not a coach. I mean, I later started elite coaching. That was very innate because I didn't really know what coaching was. And then I learned what a coach was. And then I realized I'm not a coach, I'm a consultant. I'm telling people what to do. And I could, the people that I was coaching back then, yeah, we had a script book, yeah, we had all videos, yeah, we had this, but they couldn't do it. Why? Because I was telling them what to do. Strategic pause. Telling them what to do. What's that sound a lot? Chris DiCarlo, way to get on here, man. That's patient education. People don't learn abstract new principles that way. Welcome, brother. Way to tune in. So it's either Chris or Lauren or both. So some of the coaches you guys haven't yet met yet, you'll see them. Some of you haven't met, you'll see them in Atlanta. Truly a privilege when they are present. Truly world-class chiropractors and coaches. So when you realize all behavior is belief driven, now if you want to change the behavior, you got to change the emotion because beliefs are based on emotion, right? So here's from A Course in Miracles. Do not project the responsibility for your belief. Whose belief? My belief. Your belief and emotion in it to anyone else. Project. What's that mean? You're taking your mindset and really projecting is a great word on someone else. Like, what's that mean? When I say insatiable curiosity is the key. So we'll be on a coaching call and say, well, they said that. I'm like, why did they say that? Well, I think that's the problem. You just projected your belief or your assumption. But what you didn't get was their words. What you didn't get was that one key word that told you what emotion is driving it so I can change the emotion, change the belief, change the behavior. And if you project your belief onto someone else, you preserve it in both of you. And that's why they walk out.
Oh,
That's why they have objections.
but
That's
I think you
why
said 8:10.
a whole
man, you were here 8:13. Trust me, I
yeah.
checked.
So that's why you have a problem, because you're projecting rather than just being curious, insatiably curious on why they share that. So here's Elon Musk, right? Tesla doesn't spend any money on advertising. Okay, stop right there. Don't you think that's fascinating? Because if you think about it, we don't see Tesla commercials. You see GM, Ford, Chevy, Corvette, whatever. They invest everything. I should have underlined that word. What do they invest everything in? Back into their product or service. That's what makes, and he says them, why? He doesn't say me, he doesn't say us. Why does he say them? Because he is a top notch 0.00001% leader. And what's that? He gives credit to his team. Good to great, right? What's a level 5 leader? With a problem, they look in the mirror. With a success and a win, they look through the window. He puts the team first. That's it right there. That's step 4 with Keith Krach, $3.7 trillion. The fourth step in his 5-step model is team first. Chris is classic at that. You guys are all learning that. And on some, a lot of you guys are really great. Disruptive principles that relate to changing beliefs. So what am I doing? Now I'm going over what are the principles, core values, and steps in the model of those leaders that changed industries. So here's what the principles I chose out of those that change beliefs. People don't buy products or services, right? That's why we don't sell CBP. What do they buy? They buy who they're becoming. So again, day 1, day 2, the story of their pain. That's where we shatter a lot of beliefs. Day 3, workshop and the rest of their life. Story of their transformation. They buy who they're becoming. When you change beliefs, they change who they believe they are. This is what we focus on. We do not focus on this. This is why they negotiate. This is how they recover their health. This is how they live a great lifestyle. This is why they live a great lifestyle. This is why they want to change their beliefs. This is why they want to solve a social problem. This is why they feel they can't. Their identity as a child of God that has to contribute to humanity with a greater purpose than themselves is why they become a leader. It's why they live from their heart. It's why they want to affect generations. And to do that, what do we got to do? We got to change their beliefs. Simplify everything. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Steve Jobs. Now I know everyone or people on here may think, well, this isn't a simple system. Actually, it's so easy, but it takes a specific mindset. And so that was Cameron Weishar, another coach, said, the hardest part in the beginning is pulling the weeds out of your garden. And then he clarified, oh, it's not the weeds that are the patients. It's the weeds in your mind. I'm like, dude, there you go. Speaking in metaphors and analogies, right? He gets right brain function. And that's it. Like once you pull those weeds, once you decide to change your mind. Now, when I went to professional life coaching, I realized I am not a coach. I'm not even close to a coach. I'm a consultant. There you go. Let's get some participation in there. Thank you very much. What's up? It's you. Thank you, sir. Once you decide, and then I was like, I suck. I am not a coach. I changed my mind. But what did I do? I hired a internationally certified NLP coach. And I was on the phone with him every Tuesday morning, like, I don't know, it was 10 to 11 for 2 years. And I did the same thing you guys did. How do you do that? How do you think about that every week, man? I didn't miss a week. I decided I am going to learn this. Tony Robbins, when I did, I forget the name of his program now, but he has an hour and a half, 2 hour videos. Man, I would start looking at him at 9 or 10 at night and I would watch what's he thinking, get in his mind. How does he do that? And that was like 2 years. So that's the difference is you have a purpose that you continually raise your standards and you just don't quit. And that's it. Create insanely great customer experiences. This is why we talk about patient experience. If you go back and listen to the one last night, I said, think of a memory in fifth grade. And I told that story about who came to mind. So you're going to have to listen to that one. It's kind of funny. People remember experiences. We always say, give them an experience they can't forget. Now, what's the experience? Okay, well, I get it. You get the words. No, that's why we move our body. That's why we demonstrate. That's why we agree. That's why we tell them what they didn't know, who didn't tell them. These are all emotional experiences. And when you shift the emotion, you create an experience they can't forget. That is not information for the sole purpose of information. Steve Jobs, become a storyteller. Do I need to say any more? Man, that is through all of Elite Systems. But changing their beliefs, you're changing it through storytelling. What's their past? What's their experience? How do they feel about that? How have they suffered from what they haven't been told? That's their consultation story, right? Leaders start with the customer and work backwards. So what's also that mean? We want to create a person that at the end of day one, they are going to agree this is a healthcare lifestyle. And if you've talked about generational patterns, consultation and exam, then they will agree. One, they're already going to bring their kids and you don't have to ask them. The goal is teach them in a way that they ask you. Now, you guys that have been with me a while, Tim, Jose, Chris, especially, we always invite them into the process. And that way they come to us. That's the patient application system. Why? Because we get tired of convincing. Take ownership. Don't sacrifice long-term value for short-term results. Don't give information without changing beliefs because you'll give them information, they're going to forget. We didn't change the beliefs, and that's why they either don't start or quit. Take ownership of your skill. Take ownership of the patient you want to create. Take ownership and skill of telling stories, creating experience, keeping things simple so it's easy to change beliefs, and talk about who they are, not what they have. So here's a couple more. Customer obsession. Travis Kalanick was created Uber. Start with what's best for the customer. What's best? Chiropractic lifestyle. There's only one best. Chiropractic lifestyle. Start with immediate family. Get your whole family tree. And then contribute to humanity by going out in the public, being a leader, get your message down, bring people to the workshop, 3 ways to refer. And then you're out there with a purpose to change healthcare because you love people. Find the gap between popular perception and reality. What's popular perception? Neck and back pain. I'm going to show you the latest studies on the impression of chiropractic in 2002, even compared to 2015. Here's a big one. People over process. What's that mean? People come into Elite, and I get it. You're trying to develop the skill. You're trying to, I just want to get this down, man. I just got to get my pre-consultation. And then what you think is the scripts are going to do the job for you, and they don't. They guide the topic. Yes, you can get agreements. Do they help? Absolutely. but the scripts are guiding the topic. Again, it's like the hockey rink. The scripts and the systems are only the boards in the glass. The goal is you got to get the puck in the net, man. Keep the puck moving in the middle of the ice. Again, like we said last night, one of Wayne Gretzky's famous quotes, I go to where the puck is going. What's that mean? He sees the opening, and then the team passes him the puck. Well, what's the opening? Those are all the silver platters that patients are giving you. How many times you hear me say, when a patient says something good, just don't think that's great and believe them, anchor it. Ask a question. Why did you say that? What are you feeling right now? And get that person to anchor it into them. Don't be satisfied. Don't believe them. Satisfied is not outstanding. It is not extraordinary. You're on here because your primary core value is to raise your standards, and that's why you're on here. So my hat goes off to you. There's a lot of people that'll be listening to the recording. So how are we doing as a profession? Well, AI overview, where it conglomerates a bunch of studies. 11% of Americans utilize chiropractic. 85.7 still think it's about pain. Now, again, Gallup did a study in 2015. 17% at the time went to chiropractors, and 4% only knew, well, actually, excuse me. It was 70% believed that it was about pain. So it went from 17 to 11 and 70% about pain to 85.7. This is a strategic pause. Do we need to change the model? Now, one of the things that I ran into with a bunch of coaches, Miss Jones, why is your back pain affecting your life? I was taught this by early coaches. Give them what they want, tell them what they need. Well, that's all great, but anybody that thinks that never studied human behavior, because humans don't work that way. That's not the way their brains work, which could be one of the reasons why it's freaking getting worse. So there, schools, there's lots of reasons, okay? But the problem is the profession is teaching something that is against human behavior. Now, me personally, of course, you probably know this already, I tend to have a warrior spirit. And if you're in spinal correction, you love to find exceptions. Like when someone says, well, this is like this, I'm going to give you, here's 3 reasons why it's not. I can think, how many people are like that? Raise your hand in the chat. Oh, yeah, that's me. Yep, that's me. You tell me something, then I'm going to tell you why it's not all the time. So, and those are definitely disruptor personalities. So whatever that gets you. Why patient education? So what's my point of telling you that? 1, if you study CBP and you're a spine geek, A, you're a disruptor, or just a thinker. B, if you're an exception person, and I say that because most people that are hardcore in spinal biomechanics, you're already an exception person. It's like you find ways not to like people is really easy. But if you're the exception person, you are already a disruptor. God gave you, look, I'm putting my face real close. God gave you that superpower because you are supposed to disrupt the healthcare industry. And all you got to do is get in the back of the boat, man. Because RFK Jr.'s already got a big old boat making a big old wake. It's not that hard. Develop the skill to change beliefs. Why does patient education make sense? Well, it's what we've been taught for decades. So why don't we just keep doing what we're doing? Except since we're going from 17 to 11, why don't we just keep doing it? Because if we just do it harder, maybe we'll get to 23. And what's that called? Insanity in the chat. Seems logical. That's the problem. People don't change beliefs based on logic. Give them progressive continual information so they should get it. Well, geez, I got to talk. Steve Jobs. Make it simple. Patient education is hard. Why? Because they don't learn new abstract principles that way. Well, they should get it. I mean, how many years did it take you guys to be convicted? Now, I knew you could have believed the principle from the first time, been a chiropractor, but I bet when you first came out of school, you were a little bit customer service oriented. Unless you're just the 0.000000001%. Information should make them want to change the way they live their life, teach their kids, have their kids out of the lifestyle, teach their kids for generations. Yeah, that's not happening. They should want to make it a life purpose, take this message out into the world, and impact healthcare because it's a world problem. Does patient education do that on a 90% basis with a 90% standard? Because that's the standard in elite. And so what we've learned is chiropractic profession has dropped their standards to match the model rather than changing the model. And that's the only thing that I did was I kept my standard, was totally frustrated, but had to change the model because it wasn't working. And so that's when I went outside of chiropractic, and that's what you guys are learning. Romans 12:2, baby, do not conform to the patterns of the world. Change their beliefs from the outside world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Establish new, more empowering beliefs that create a new healthcare system. Now, here's the problem. One reason people get stuck is their purpose isn't big enough. Now, there's people, well, I have a big purpose. Well, if you want to build a practice, that's the problem. I'm not saying that's not a good purpose. It's just not big enough. Because what happens if you want to build a practice, then you're probably creating a patient. And that means you have people that have been coming to you for years, chiropractic lifestyle, but my kid doesn't have back pain. Why should I bring them? Well, I can't afford it, blah, 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 blah. So you create a patient, you end up with one. Now you might get more, but on a 90% basis, no. And guess what happens? Your team, then you create a purpose-driven team, especially if you bring them into elite. And if you are a good leader and you're purpose-driven, but your purpose is to build a practice and create a lifestyle patient, singular. Some get it, some don't. Eventually they quit. And then that purpose-driven team has a goal and a purpose that they may not be able to reach on a higher level. So what do? They become task-driven. That's the problem. Beliefs from patient application. So what we're going to do, we got to figure out, okay, what are the beliefs of this person? So we're not going to go in there blind. So we look at the patient application form. Well, first of all, what name do they like to be called in age? First of all, because that's their identity. Now, my legal name is Alfred, if you didn't know that. So on my credit card, it says Alfred. So when I go to the water store and get all this, oxygenated, alkalinized, mineralized, all this cool water, the person at the cash register always calls me Alfred. And I don't correct her because it's not a big deal. But what do I think? She doesn't know who I am. Immediately, that's why. People don't buy products or services, they buy identity. That's why that's there. Now, I know you guys know that, but it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Maybe now when your team understands this, that everything in elite was implemented and created to disrupt healthcare and create a leader, not a patient. Alfred, 16 years, I didn't know that. Yeah, I know. Well, you weren't fishing through my credit card, man. I need to buy you dinner more and throw my Black American Express out there when I get one. And that's a long time, 16 years. How many and what type of health conditions where you're like, holy crap, man, they checked off 25 things And you guys know when you do a consultation, they probably checked off maybe 60% of what you're going to pull out of them. So if they got a bunch or a little, if they have a little and they just check off back pain or neck pain, what are they doing? You're not going to have just back pain or neck pain and probably not have something else. Spine works like one unit. You got a freaking spinal cord going through there. You're going to have a spinal injury and have no other conditions. That's so rare. And if people have that, they either don't want to look at it or their body's not telling them they're about to drive off a 100-foot cliff. So very few health conditions tells you about their beliefs, just like a lot of health conditions. Primary complaint. What providers have they seen? It's probably based on pain care. So you already know that. Have they been to another chiropractor? So how many chiropractors? If they went for back pain, the probability that they think chiropractic is about back pain is probably 99.99999%. What drugs are they on? What's that tell you? They go to a chiropractor for back pain, they go to an MD for health. So I already know. Hey, they only checked off back pain. What's that mean? They're probably on high blood pressure medication. Maybe they write that down, blood pressure medication. Or if they don't, what do they think? Those are people in a consultation. Well, you have stomach aches, blah, 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 blah. You take this, blah, blah, blah. And they look away and then they say no. Okay, what were you thinking? Well, I get it, but I go, yeah, I'm on high blood pressure medication, but I go to my MD for that. That is a belief system that you have to shatter. It's not about the information, the nerves in the upper thoracic spine. It's about the belief system and what emotion is driving that. So you already know you're going to have to dig into that. What surgeries have they had? What's that tell you? They believed their MD and maybe they needed it. We don't know. It's not uncommon to be cutting out organs. Family health history. There you go, because we're going to talk about generational patterns, right? Are they married and do they have kids? So you're going to talk about generational patterns. Now, why married? Not because you want to get the spouse, because a parent will do anything to make sure their kids don't suffer like they do. That is their value. Excuse me, that's a purpose. So why is married important? Excuse me, sorry about that. I got a little tickle in my throat. Probably from yelling into the camera. Because you have the patient contributing generational patterns, and you have the spouse contributing generational patterns. That means those kids are a combination. Generational patterns are 100%. So here's where, okay, I have an idea who they are, and I have an idea through the script, through the system, that my strategy is going, when I get to these forks in the road, I'm going to ask them a yes or no question. And based on yes or no, I already have a conversation. And you already know what it's going to be. Well, it's just like, do you know subluxation? Did your other chiropractor tell you that? No. Well, what I'm about to tell you, you're going to realize maybe controlling your health for the rest of your life, like that can be a script, right? Is that important to you to know? So that's a very different conversation. This is people over process. People over process. I'm going to say it one more time. People over process. Hey, Mark, cool. Got to run. All right, brother. We'll talk, man. Have a good one. Catch you tomorrow. Thanks, pal. So why? Because the process is the script. The people is how you adapt it to change beliefs. Now, notice this fine, young graphic in the background. You got to be the lighthouse, man. And when we stop sharing our screen, check this out. Oh, there's Tim's iPhone. All right, where do I go? I'll just go back to sharing. The space above the lighthouse is clear. See these clouds right here? because this is all their belief system. But when you shine your light, you change beliefs, you bring them to a new level of consciousness. That is your purpose. You don't keep the puck against the boards or some big dude's going to slam into you. I was working out in the gym the other on Saturday, and this big dude, man, he was like 6'1", shoulders were about this wide, big old arms, big old legs, and he had a hockey shirt on. I'm like, dude, do you play hockey? Yep, sure do. And he was 42 years old, so he doesn't play like he used to. And I'm like, I would not want to be hit by you. He started laughing. Like, you get that guy speed across the ice. No, that's what's sticking to the boards is like, that's what's thinking your scripts are going to do everything for you. Thinking error. That's why I say you got to know them so well that you forget about them and let them go and you focus on the person. So now that you got the patient application, here's chiropractic lifestyle. You see a 9, they see a 6. You already know what the 6 looks like. What's patient education? Yo, you over there, if you're in New York, mofo, or Jersey, this is a 9. No, it's not. I'm looking at a 6. Now I know you know this from the boot camp. Yeah, Fred, whatever. We heard the story. Got it. I also listen to how some people handle objections. It takes a coaching mindset, which is a right brain mindset, which to go from your doctor left brain into your right brain, you actually have to be Chris. You have to be Tim. You have to be John. You have to be Susie, not Dr. John, Dr. Tim, Dr. Chris, Dr. Susie. So what do? You got to be compassionate, spiritually evolved. Walk around here and go, you know what? I want to see from your perspective because I'm fascinated with your humanity, healed, so I can bring you to the 9 divinity, but I can't get you out of your humanity to your divinity until I validate, understand, appreciate, acknowledge, and am fascinated by your perspective. And I want to know, wow, how did you get that? Why do you think that? What was your experience? What did they tell you? So there was a coaching call today, and the woman was objecting, and she said, well, she didn't want to make payments, and she thought she didn't have the money for the prepay. So what'd she say? I don't do payments. I don't pay interest. Somebody says that. So the doctor was like, well, information, information, information. And then I'm like, my question was, who told you that? She's spitting out somebody else's words. There's 2 possibilities. So you ask a question, find out the possibilities, and adapt the conversation. There's only 2. One, she ran up her credit cards, gotten a shitload of debt, and now she's like, no way, I will never do that again because I had to declare bankruptcy, which was another guy on another coaching call. He was so worried about the money, he got in a big fight at the front desk and walked out. And what he said was, I declared bankruptcy however many years ago. I will never do that again. He's operating on survival. So he wants the number now. Well, you can't get it now because we got to do the correction potential x-ray. So anyway, that's a whole nother way to handle it. So what would you do? Oh man, I'm so sorry. Here's a 6. You know what? We're trying to protect you from a bankruptcy because I'm sure that was traumatic. You never want to go back there again. Yet over 80% of the bankruptcies in this country come from health problems. I mean, shoot, dude, you got 16, 18, 22. He was very sick, apparently. 22 different health problems. And you got 3 diagnosable diseases. I'd be more worried about your health causing your bankruptcy than a few easy payments are going to help you recover your health and give you confidence you'll never end up there again. So what did I do? I appealed to his value to never wanting ending up in a bankruptcy. But I have to know, why do you want so much certainty on the money? Because that's what they want. Basic human need. He's on survival. When you get that out, oh, now I get it. Now I know why you're seeing a 6. And that's changing a belief system. Your insatiable curiosity. I mean, hey, you guys have all been alive pretty long. You've been through just about every human scenario that a person can go through. You know this. And that's why it's tapping into John, Chris, Tim, Susie, and whoever else is coming on, and Jose and Patrick, and all you guys on the recording that I can't see right now. So that's the key. That's how you do it. You actually have to care more about the person than you do your product or service. That's why people disrupt industries, because they're not selling their product or service. They're creating a relationship where there's understanding, changing the belief. Now, once he feels safe about 6, you can walk him around to a 9. Completely change his whole belief system and perspective. Now, research shows within 1 hour, most learners forget 50%. Okay, now before I go on, I know you guys see this at the boot camp. Chris, like these slides, we didn't have at the last boot camp you went to. It's like a whole new boot camp. So they forget in 1 hour, right? Did you ever give an day 2 ROF and then go, okay, what'd you learn? They like, can you help me? Like, they don't know what the hell you're talking about. But now when you give our ROF, they'll understand a lot more. So here's the goal of this. I know you know this. I know you've seen it. I'm inviting you to listen with your heart. So if they forget everything in 1 hour, why would you want to give them information? Well, that's what I'm used to. Well, then change your mind. How about that? Otherwise, you're projecting your belief system into them. And Tim gave a great testimonial today on a call. And he said, I was talking to this woman. I realized I was saying way too much. I go, what'd you do? He goes, I stopped. I took a breath. Thank you. Pattern interrupting yourself. Great job. Great job, right? So if they forget 50% in 1 hour, why would you want to do it? Why would you default back to what you've always done? And I'm not saying that's good or bad, but that's what you have to think in yourself. I'm not going there. So they forget 70%, 24 hours, 90% within a week. I don't know. Do you need anything else? So Journal of Royal Society of Medicine, 96. Patient's memory and medical information. 40 to 80% that you give them is forgotten when. I should have underlined that. 40 to 80% is forgotten immediately. So what's that telling you? People don't change beliefs based on logic and information. Stop doing that. Yeah, but I've done it for so long. Well, stop it. At the last boot camp, we showed that Bob Newhart movie piece clip. Stop it. You got to watch it. Bob Newhart, stop it. Check it out. Almost half of the information is remembered incorrect. So 40 to 80% forgotten immediately, and the rest basically is incorrect. Why? One, you're using terminology, that they don't know. I was watching this reel the other day, and it was, of course, CBP guy specializing in scoliosis. And the words he was using, notice my body language. If you can't see, I'm like, what WTF is he doing? Other than touting himself as an expert, so nobody understands what the fuck he's talking about. That's it. Don't do that. Speak to their internal language. That's why. Now, here's the thing. Yeah, but you don't understand. I have a doctorate. You don't understand. I've been doing this for 30 years. You don't understand. No, I do understand, actually. And after 11 years, I wanted to shoot myself with the thousands of people that I lost. Speak their language. Hey, so here's an interesting story that you might not find not that interesting. But when I moved from Newport Beach to Wilmington, North Carolina, sleepy little southern town, I'm like, oh my God, man, I can't let my West Coast friends hear me saying y'all and all this stuff. So, but I noticed when I first opened the clinic, people would say, "Oh, you're from the North." And they basically wouldn't commit because of my language. And not that it was profane, I just wasn't speaking their language. And so I figured it out. I had to create rapport. So I started using their language. Hey, I'm fixing to do this. And, I don't even remember what the language was, throwing a couple of y'alls. And all of a sudden, man, I was their best friend. I just loved them and used their language. And that's where I learned it. Speak their language. And anybody that's married knows you can be both speaking English and not understand what the heck you're talking about. All you need is a teenager. That pretty much does everything right there, explains everything right there. The mode of information, it's spoken. We're going to go through that. 65% of people are visual. And those are report of findings that are all lectures. That's why, what do we say? You create the experience by how you touch them, the conversation that you have, the questions, the demonstrations, because it's not all spoken. You create an experience. Factors related, their low education or specific expectations. This is what I noticed in North Carolina. They had the worst school systems in the country. Number one worst school system. So I had to that's where I learned to dumb down my language. And when I spoke their language, they got it. And, and then I started doing that, adapt to your audience. So you can do it the hard way. You can continue to say, I will climb that mountain and use patient education, but I know you guys don't want to do that. Or what do? Buy a freaking lift ticket, man. It's way cooler to go on the gondola, right? That's changing beliefs. Look at that. So what's the secret mindset shift to do this in you? I know you are asking that question. Well, if you love to teach, Whoa, look at this thing going crazy. If you love to teach and you love to tell people what you know. Now, I consider myself a teacher. Man, I told them everything I knew until they were begging to get out of the report of findings. Been there, done that. Then what outcome do you want? So, okay, I love to teach. Jose, great teacher. David Rowe, all of us love to teach. Tim, we've all been there. What outcome do you want? Well, I want them to live a chiropractic lifestyle. I want them to bring their kids. I want them to tell everybody I know. And I don't want anyone ever again in generations that are beyond my lifetime to ever go to a pediatrician or a medical doctor unless it's an absolute crisis. But if they're under chiropractic care, they're not going to have a health crisis. They may have trauma. That's the only reason they're going to go. That's what I want. Well, then what do you do with your superpower of I love to teach? Well, would you like them to change the way they live? Would you like them to be inspired? Would you like to have a specific belief system, have a purpose, change generations? Would you like to not need to convince them continually? If yes, here's the answer. You teach by empowerment. When you love to empower people, you will still teach them. But if you are a teacher in a school, college, whatever, or anything, that's your workshop. If you're a teacher and you love to tell them what you know, what outcome do you get? That despised, almost hated outcome. Thanks, doc. Great information as you're staring at the back of their head. So when you get that, let me ask you a question. How much do you really love to teach? So if you're sitting there and your identity is I love to teach, but you're staring at the back of their head with all these objections, or the only compliment you get is great information, then how do you feel about your teaching? That should change your mind in a second. And that's what I had to do. That's why I'm like, I'm done. I'm studying. I'm listening more. I don't care about telling them what I think. I'm 1,000% secure with what I know. I want to know what you know, because when I empower you and you change your life for generations, and I get a relationship with your family and your parents and your aunts and your uncles and your cousins and your nieces and nephews, I guarantee you I will choose empowerment 11 out of 10 times over teaching. Have I yelled enough yet? Let me yell a little bit more. How do people learn new concepts and transition into beliefs? Well, they learn in their right brain. New information may seem abstract. They learn abstract principles in the right brain. Left brain stores knowledge after it is understood and accepted. Then it goes into their left brain. And then once they know it, then it becomes a fact. Look at this word. It's accepted as truth. Now, this was a quote, although I didn't put the source and I didn't put quotations. But look at that. Whoever wrote this, it's accepted as truth. Is truth a belief system? Let's get some absolutely's in the chat. It is absolutely a belief system. So once it's understood, goes in the left brain, associated with an emotion from the right brain, it is now a new belief. When it becomes a belief and it's known, there you go, thank you so much, then absolutely, Jose, then it goes into the subconscious mind. Now it's automatic. When it's known, it becomes a fact and it's certain. Now it can wire subconscious mind. When knowledge becomes associated with an emotion from experience, not education, it becomes deeply rooted and changes beliefs and behaviors. I mean, I could end this right there, right? You guys know this already. Now, why am I going through this when you guys are like, I get it already? Really? So if you get it, and then you find yourself like Tim did, and I found myself there 100 times, stop talking mid-syllable. Take a breath and then ask them one responsibility question that shifts their emotion. How do people learn? Left brain speaks in facts. 7% influence is because of your words, right? 38 is the tone. 55 is influence. You know, that's your body language. This is why we don't just memorize a script. It's 7%. This is why 38% and 55% is why we perform our scripts. We don't recite our scripts. We perform our scripts. So as most of you guys know, I started doing some office visits, and I was at Ron House's clinic, and they see about 600 a week, but their potential is way greater. And so that's why I was there. Like, you know, that's where we put in the highest standards, all the elite systems in a day and a half. But we're going through the re-exam. You have to perform. You got to get excited. You got to move your body. You got to be Italian. And if you're not Italian, just Jewish counts. Jewish works. They're pretty much the same, right? Different religion, same corporation, right? Sebastian Maniscalco. 65% learn visually. What are they doing? They're watching how you move. What are they not doing? Listening to what you say, right? 55% learn kinesthetically. They're watching how you move. That's why you have to demonstrate. Amen, says Tim. Amen that you took the breath. You might have wrote that a while ago. This is why you have to perform, not recite. If you said the same thing, but you performed it, you change your facial expression, you change your tone, you will create a different experience that will create a different person. Right brain versus left brain. If they're learning in their right brain, then maybe we should speak to their right brain. So what's their language? Analogies. It's what makes something unfamiliar familiar. When it's already familiar, it's in their subconscious mind. That's why, again, spinal cord's like a river. Subluxation is like a dimmer switch, like a dam in the river. It's and here's what you do. Whenever you have an objection, you tell a story using an analogy. Not only will they remember it, you are changing their beliefs and rewiring their subconscious mind in real time. Why? Because it has to be simple. Steve Jobs. If I'm going to rewire them, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to tell them 15 times. Now, this is what I've heard from people, nobody here, of course, but from elite clients. And when they start, and it's like, man, you got to tell them the same thing every time. Well, we have to educate because I have to tell them the same thing every time. And it's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. That's your strategy, was a left brain strategy. Metaphor, something that is representative or similar to something else. Like it's a lot like an analogy, but it's more like a story. Stories. Steve Jobs. Stories. He was a great storyteller. People remember 22 times more. Everything you say is a story. Become a world-class storyteller. When you're a storyteller using analogies, you change, boom, that fast. You watch their body language change. It happens right now. That's why we tell the subluxation story. Right? Become a storyteller. So, images. People create pictures in their mind of familiar topics. Use words that create images. Dimmer switch. Immediately you see a dimmer switch. Fire hose. You see that big flow of water. So we use analogies that they're so familiar with, it creates a picture in their mind. Now it wires into their subconscious mind. Now, I know that we use these in a script. What people have to develop the skill on is storytelling. Because everything is a story. You are always speaking in stories. And as that's what we teach in the boot camps. If you listen to how I handle objections, it's always a story with an analogy. And I'm creating a story. Now, when you create a story, they are emotionally involved in the story. It doesn't have to be a whole novel, but there's emotional engagement. And then when you change the meaning in a story, you're changing the emotion and changing the belief. That's why they're so powerful. Cool? Day 1, day 2 is about discovering their beliefs. So here's 9 beliefs. Chiropractic for pain. That's a belief. You'll see on the patient application. I only use my insurance for chiropractic care, right? Chiropractic is for spine and medicine for health problems. Now, when you're identifying these beliefs, you are not handling this with information. You are telling a story, right? You're changing the meaning. Chiropractic for spine, medicine for health. Chiropractic for healthcare. What's that mean? Hey, my asthma's gone, so I'm gone. Chiropractic corrects the spine. Yep, went for 40 visits. Got a good curve in my neck. Okay, I'm done. Chiropractic corrects spine and my health. Now, there you go. It's getting closer, but this is why they quit. Hey, I fixed my spine. My asthma's gone. That is health care. Chiropractic is not health care. Health care is when they have a health problem, they go to a doctor with health problems gone and they quit. Chiropractic is a healthcare lifestyle for myself. Well, you're getting closer, but this is why they come to you for years and they don't bring their wife and kids. Why? My kid doesn't have a problem. Well, he doesn't have back pain. Well, he does have a spinal cord. And he does have a spine if he's walking on 2 legs, even 4 legs, 4, arms and hands and knees. Chiropractic is a healthcare lifestyle for my family. Now we're getting close. That's not the one you want. That is a limited one. Chiropractic is a healthcare lifestyle for my family tree, generations to come, and for everyone I know and love. In fact, it's part of my life purpose. That is the patient that you want to create. Right there. Is it possible? Absolutely. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Tomorrow, we're going through the 4 simple mindsets. Thursday, we'll be going through day 1, day 2, and I'll show you how to do generations and give them purpose right on day 1. Friday, we're going through the 20 and 30-year health and life goals. That's going to be selling identity, not a product or service. 9 is the only belief system you want them to have. So you basically have to shatter 8 beliefs to get to this one. This is not good enough. Why? Now it's better, but why isn't it good enough? I don't think I can even count how many families, how many parents brought their kids 2, 3 years and then quit. That's not a lifestyle. That was healthcare. Lifestyle is they live it for the rest of their life. Now, were there people, I mean, I never stayed in one clinic more than 5 years, my ADD kicking in and moving everywhere. But I have met people that after 32 years, 34 years since the last time I saw them, those kids have grown up, they have kids, and they're under chiropractic care. And I will say, man, you guys know the feeling. There's nothing greater than knowing you've impacted generations that you don't even know. And they knew Dr. Fred. They looked at me like I was a ghost. You know, they never met him, but they heard about Dr. Fred. Your responsibility is to identify and change their beliefs. Everybody's got to know how chiropractic care is a lifestyle from day 1. Make that your standard and do not compromise. Raise your standards. Now, I know everybody on here has that standard. You need to know how. Shatter old beliefs, create new chiropractic lifestyle beliefs. That's your responsibility. Create automation with 100 PVA in patients that don't come for you. You know, when I got that and they quit coming for me and they came for themselves and their family and generations, I could show up or not show up. They have a purpose. This is the key. I heard a billionaire mindset interview and they said, this guy said, look, purpose is great, but the highest human inspiration is a calling. And billionaires feel like they have a calling to make a difference in the world. Everyone on here, you know you have a calling. I mean, we only have a handful of you guys on, and thank you for being here. And I know I'm running over, but you're on here because you know this is a calling, and we will never quit, ever. Right? So here you go. And this is the analogy I used when I started studying human behavior. We added 110 people a day in 5 months. I was well on my way to 300 a day. And then there was that day at 232. But here's how I looked at it. The wood is an analogy for the patient. See, I'm telling a story. The staff puts the wood on the X. Man, you put that wood in the right place. What's that? Patient application script. Wow, first impression. Two-handed handshake. Nodding, getting an agreement. New patient tour. Then what the doctor is going to do is I was the only doctor, so I perfected my swing. I learned how to change beliefs. I looked at the patient application. I looked at all the things you told me. I went in already with an idea of my audience and already with a strategy. So if my axe hits that X and that wood is in the right place, we get to add it to the pile. If the staff doesn't put it in the right place, at another call, staff and doctor actually could have done it better, but staff made a big mistake. Doctor got 3-way agreement. Patient, doctor walked away. Patient didn't agree. Staff did not go get the doctor. Patient walks out. That's a life. Now, when I had a team, because we had high standards, like, okay, what happened? This happened. What's the system? Go get the doctor. What did you do? Well, I handle it this way. Why? What were you thinking? Because it wasn't the task, it was an error in mindset. Even with your team, you always coach their mindset. You can't, they're going to make the same mistake over and over. And then it's going to be 3 strikes, you're out. And then I have to fire you because of our standard. And the problem was I never got the mindset. That's the problem. Coach your team. Now, once they put it there because they know, hey, you make a bunch of mistakes and you know what you're supposed to do and you don't do it, you have a purpose problem. You're not on the team. So what happens? All of a sudden, man, we got a shitload of wood. This is when I would look at the wood pile. I remember, this will be the last story. For 11 years, I could do 120 a day. In 11 years, I could not hit 125. We got 40 new patients a month consistently. And I can't go from 120 a day to 125. The biggest day I had was 123. I would go insane. Why I couldn't do it. When I learned this, all I did was focus, chopping the wood, perfecting my swing, learning how to change beliefs. I remember at the end of the day, I saw my schedule there and we saw 165. And my brain immediately said, I can't do that. Now, if I would have believed my brain, I would have found a reason why I would quit and sabotage myself. And now I didn't have a coach because there wasn't a coach to teach me what you were learning. I mean, my coaches were books, Tony Robbins, these pattern interruption people. They were my coaches, only they didn't know it. If I would have listened to my mind, I would have quit. I would have stopped investing in myself. I never would have had this pile. Now you could say, I don't want this pile. We'll get 3 doctors and you can have this pile. You don't have to be the mechanic. But you do have to be able to coach your team. So that becomes your job and do it effectively on a very high level. It just so happens when I hit 232, I wanted to create a new pile of wood. So what I want to do is also show you, for you guys that are watching the recording, here's my number. Give me a call. Go to Secret 7-Figure Lifestyle. Just real quick, when I go here, I'm going to go to the Elite page. Right down here, Secrets to the 7-Figure Lifestyle. John, you got familiar with this? It's amazing how many people have this. These are all videos. You download them. They're broken into step-by-step, 7-step ROF. It's broken down. Introduction. Step 3. Look at this. Introduction. Step 1. Oops. Hey, where's step 2? Step 3. Step 5, 6, 7. So you go through all of this. It's all broken down. These are the major pillars of what can create a 7-figure lifestyle practice. What's that mean? You're going to make $1 million+ a year just on your lifestyle monthly payments. Now, here's what else I want to show you, because people are like, well, I don't know what to do, and you don't have a system. And well, here's an implementation manual that tells you, 1, exactly what to study and what, or look, 1, 2, there you go. 3, it's telling you even the order to study in, and the Secrets to 7-Figure Lifestyle Practice are set up in a specific order. This is the order that you implement. It's in a specific order. In case I wasn't clear about that from the beginning. So if you have any questions about that, if you don't want to go to seminars, some people, it's all here, man. And this is what people use right here. So, hey, do that. How about that? Let's see. So there we go, gang. That is, I went a little bit over like usual, But that's all the mindset of change beliefs. I know that you know this. You've seen these slides before, but the goal is take these into your heart. Decide right now, I am done. I really, if you think you love teaching and you're staring at the back of someone's head, you decide you don't love teaching very much anymore. And then you're going to learn to listen rather than to speak. And that's step one. Listen with ultimate curiosity and love for another spiritual being that's on a human journey, that's developed belief systems that have been limiting their life. So there you go. Amen. There you go. Thank you, Patrick. Okay, you guys, have an amazing day. Anybody got any questions, any feedback? Chris, if you're still there and you have a minute, you went through the process. You're an amazing coach. You're at that 7-figure lifestyle. If you want to pop, thank you. You're welcome, Tim. If you want to pop on for a sec and go, yeah, it sucks in the beginning, but do it anyway. Give me your opinion. That'd be
Can you hear
great.
me? Brad?
Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, man. We followed it. We followed the systems. We always did. Take a little time, but like I said, we always say how grateful and thankful we are for everything that you teach us, even still. I just heard some stuff tonight that I'm just writing down. I'm actually going to tell Lauren in a minute, just because you always hear something, even after 16 years. It's been great.
Oh man, you guys are going to go to the boot camps now, and you'd be like, "What the fuck?
Yeah.
we need to stay." Like they're so different from what they used to be. I mean, obviously there's still stuff. So I'm really excited to see you there. And
Yeah, man.
I will say too, Chris, that's what's great. His superpower is he doesn't think. You tell him what to do, and once he trusts you, he does it. And a superpower of yours, Chris, is Steve Jobs. You learn how to make it simple.
Right.
Yeah, because it's easy.
I love it. Thank you.
Plus, I don't know. Plus, when we met, that's before you went to one. Dude, you got to go to Healed. We're going to talk about that. But tell them the story, how you took a personality test and your primary personality was a competitor or something.
Yep.
And then everybody that, went to school with you were like, oh my God, he's such a dick. But then you actually went, I mean, you're very loving, obviously.
Right.
But and how you went to compassion. Tell them that whole story.
Yeah, so when I first got started and we had took the personality test and everything was like over the top competitive, ego. And then after going through the system and Healed and getting into more of the core values and mindset and philosophy of everything that you taught us, and I retook one, and it was just like it was just like compassion and healer and loving, and it was like two different human beings, man. Like, so it's just been such a change. And my old friends from school are just like, they don't get it. And then, but it's just so funny. It's like two different human beings. I still laugh at that.
It's, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like you always were the healer. You always were loving. You always were compassionate, but then we let other stuff get in our way, right?
Right. Yeah.
More of who you really are.
It's the best.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Cool. Hey, love you, Chris.
I love you too, man. I'll talk to you.
It's such an honor when you meet Chris and Lauren at the Atlanta seminar.
Yep. So, we'll be there.
Cool. All right, you guys. Love you guys. I'll talk to you this week. And please share this and the emails with other chiropractors. We got to create we got to pattern interrupt chiropractic. So thanks. All right. Peace to you guys. Take care.